Hello everyone and welcome to the channel and third quarter moon of this moon phase. We're 3 weeks in. It started 3 weeks ago with an Aquarius new moon, and the theme seems to be how to be in right relations to change. And yeah, I think it was clear that it was the Uranian energy coming in the full moon last week in Leo, and I think it shook some things up. So it's really bringing in a powerful energetic in this third moon phase, which usually is a time when, it's a time to like sort of reevaluate and make adjustments. And now we're moving into, the shedding of the moon. And so I think the release work is already starting, I feel like. So really paying attention to where the stuck kind of negative energy is, and working on releasing that. I think that yesterday's Scorpio moon, I feel like was really strong. Again, with this theme also in this moon cycle about truth, and I feel like Scorpionic energy is very much about, getting to the core of things, to the essence of things. And I've actually done the shuffle and just kind of got interrupted, and now I'm back in. And so just calling in again for the energetics of clarity and really having this intention of seeing what wants to speak in the sky right now. There's a lot of, I feel like this is kind of the calm before a lot of really major transits. Like next week we have a new moon in Pisces, and it's really opening up the eclipse portal. We're going to have a lunar eclipse in Virgo and then a solar eclipse in Aries. And this is all happening while Venus goes retrograde and Mercury goes retrograde. And they're going to transverse all the energy of the heart and mind, right? The heart that is equated to Venus and the mind equated with Mercury, all, last month into the month before, So yeah, why don't we just see what the cards have to say and just really get into it. So this first card popped out as the first card representing, where we are right now, representing us and the energy around sort of the POV, right? And it is the Four of Pentacles. The light is a bit strong here. Okay, here we go. The Four of Pentacles. So that's cardinal earth energy. Yeah. So I think this is Saturnian here. This is Saturnian energy, and it's really speaking to limits and restriction. And I've been saying this lately. I feel like I said this in 2 conversations in the last 2 days about Saturn. And actually Saturn was coming up every reading in this moon cycle, represented in the World card and the Seven of Cups card. And Saturn brings limits and limitations, and that might feel stifling, but actually it can motivate us to be creative about situations, right? That actually limitations can sometimes give us the ability to see different perspectives. Yeah, so that's the first card, and the energy that's crossing it, wow, it's interesting. Is the Leo energy, the Strength card. So I would say that this is beneficial energy to this, right? To have the courage to perhaps respect the boundaries, honoring the limits, right? Moving beyond fear, having the courage. Yeah. to take on new behaviors around sustainability. Okay, let's see what else is coming up here. So what's grounding the card here is, oh, interesting, 5 of Swords. So this is Aquarius energy. So we have this Leo Aquarian energy. So we could really still be feeling this dissemination of this full moon, which was, I feel like it really shook things up. And this theme of getting in right relations to change, and this Uranian energy is still with us because we're still not through the end of this moon cycle, right? So I think it's on our mind, this polarity between maybe self and other, the way we need to show up for ourselves and not dilute who we are once we're in groups, right? Yeah. And really allowing ourselves to be who we are, because when we do that, we automatically make it, like, we will find it easier to let people be who they are, right? Yeah. Okay. So this is more Aquarian energy. I believe this is the Mercury and Aquarius energy, and Mercury has already moved into Pisces and will be doing a retrograde journey. And I'm not really sure if he moves that far back into Aquarius, but perhaps this is also speaking, Mercury was actually conjunct the sun in that full moon. So again, this is really speaking to this dissemination. Quarter moon phases really urge us to make the adjustments that we need to. Right, so there could be some big adjustments and realizations coming through right now as far as how we need to actually pivot, perhaps. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's some loss here, right? Can't really unspill those cups. So I don't know. Mercury can maybe be also speaking to, like, you know, gosh, I think actually this is fixed, this is fixed water, so I'm wondering, the scorpionic energy, I think that's also Aquarian, I don't know. I mean, mercurial, but yeah. So this is in a recent past. We're letting go of something, and it's giving us some grief, right? Because maybe we've put a lot of tending to and being a guardian to these cups, right? And now they've just spilled. It's like the energy leaks, right? Okay. So, I'm not sure which one was the top card, but anyway, wow. So, yeah. This is just something that's happening over and over again, and maybe we should just really get the message that we're really done with this. Maybe we're still in this grieving process. Right. Yeah. I feel like also when I see this card, it's also like, it's done. Like, it's like you're just beating a dead horse now. Okay? Like, it's over. Right? The ending of a cycle here, or, you know, a situation, a relationship, a way of relating, right? Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, I believe this is the Pisces card. I believe so. The High Priestess. So, there is this space that we're really getting beyond attaching if this is a good or bad situation. Like, I think that we have gained some insight over the repetition of the situation, where we can pick the high road and more of the spiritually oriented, taking responsibility, right? Over feeling guilt or shame, if that's towards ourselves, right? Shame for ourselves, or, feeling guilty of having to cut something free, right? I don't know. There's some strong emotion here, right, that we're still processing. Well, this is the recent past. Hopefully we're not we're continuing to hurt ourselves, right? But nonetheless, I think that maybe we do recognize that we're done with this sort of habit, this emotional habit. And what came up last week was really victim mentality, right? The victim consciousness. So this to me is more of an empowered positioning of self right now. So I think that there is like a victory here, right? A victory over the dense earthly kind of, and mental, because we create karmas in our mind, right? So we may not be saying things loud when we're upset in situations, but nonetheless we could be creating karma still, right? Because what we think is something that we're eventually going to act on. It's going to become our value, and it's going to become how we act, right? Okay, yeah. Oof. Yeah, this energy there's a lot to contend with. I think that there's a lot of demands coming from, in this card it looks like one direction, but yeah, it's some strong energy. Gosh. Like, to me, this is like kind of like psychic attacks. Like daggers. Like I was saying, you're creating a karma with how you think about things, how you think of other people, how you think of situations and relationship, right? It affects things, right? It affects things. Once we get into the space of gossip and talking shit, then we're really bringing it on ourselves right now. Ugh. Right. Yeah, exactly. We got this last week. Mars is moving direct. And I think that we do, and we can sense, we understand through this initiation of the Mars retrograde, that emotions and feelings don't really happen in a vacuum. Does that make sense? And that it does really affect the outer, even if it's not really congruent, right? So I think that we possibly can see one should strive to be transparent and be congruent, right? And that's not always effective way of being, but we got to find the balance somewhere of not totally divorcing ourselves of how we're feeling emotionally, not over intellectualizing, and honoring the body and honoring our feelings. And I think we're probably finding more and more pathways to be healthy, to see the high road, to tap into more of our higher self frequency and consciousness, right? So we're not in a state of like attacking and daggers, right? So that could be energy that's coming from others, right? That there's this like unspoken passive aggression, maybe, right? This is the culminating card, right? It's that scorpionic card. What could have been, right? What could have been? Yeah, I think that, the grief here is real. We are moving away from something old. Definitely turning our back, and we're done with this. Whatever's gripping us emotionally, mentally, really, right? The mind body. The mind body. Cancer rules the moon. The moon is equated with the body and the mind body, right? How we're feeling in our body informs our mind informs how we're going to feel in our body. And if we hold in anger, we're going to start getting pain patterns. That chronic pain patterns, right? So the advice is to honor emotions, honor the spiritual realms of who we are, that we're beyond these more distressing emotions. It's hard for me to deal with anger, and it comes up in sort of some more covert ways. And perhaps Mars in Cancer brought that awareness in for some of you out there. And we have to be able to not over intellectualize and explain away our feelings. I don't know if I spoke to this card. This is the grounding card of this question. This is like more of the subconscious stuff. Like, it's kind of speaking to what I'm saying about being above board with, being congruent, right, with our intentions. Like, yeah, you got what you got, but you didn't get it fairly. Or there was this feeling that something wasn't gotten or won over in a fair way. Right? So does that even mean that it counts? Yeah, it's interesting. Right. What was the top card here? Right, this was the top card. So there's a sequence there too. You want to get out of that situation. It's just like, you know what? The fight wasn't fair. Yeah. Right, the boundary. So wow, this is so interesting. So the sequence, there's a lot of things playing out here, I think. There's a lot of cycles that are culminating, and a lot of the planets are going to be moving, right? And we're moving into this big new moon cycle. So I think that it's going to be a powerful new moon because there's a lot to release here. A lot of sentimentality, a lot of grief about the past, right? There's this longing there still that maybe for the next moon cycle we're going to get into, because it's going to be very watery in Pisces, and and Mars moving direct. So that's going to be interesting. There's going to be some really tender emotional things coming up, I think. That's because this is the culminating card, right? Right. But we're being gripped again with a lot of swords. This was last week, we got a ton of swords, and this week we got a lot of swords too. Just really speaking to the mental realms. Mercury right now and Jupiter in a square, so there is a lot of mind stuff coming through. Mercury is going to be moving away from the rays of the sun, so we're going to have a very strong mind in midweek. I think a lot of insight's going to come in. So I think that, again, holding things loosely, letting things just, dissolve. Sometimes we don't need to overprocess things. Sometimes we just need to know we're done with something, right? We know that something is harmful. If that's something that we're doing towards ourselves, or if we're doing in a certain situation, right? So being congruent, right, in an effective way, right? So if we want to salvage something from, I don't know where that card was, 5 of Cups. If we want to salvage relationships or things that we've invested and put into, we do need to be mindful how we express our emotions, but nonetheless, we do need to express them. And who knows, there could be some sort of, we don't want to just, we don't want to just be totally destructive, right? I don't know, maybe we do want a clean cut, but maybe there's an opportunity to reclaim some innocence and reclaim some nostalgia for something that we thought was really irredeemable or, unfixable. There's an aspect here that you can't go back. Totally, right? Like you can't unsay things. You can't say things. You can't unsay things if you're belligerent or, don't have control. Right? So this is really the courage to keep on connecting with the higher self, keeping spiritual integrity, keeping yourself responsible for staying in your lane, but also being true to truth, of course, being authentic, because that's the only way you're going to actually really achieve real intimacy, is that if you allow yourself to be vulnerable, because that's also strength, right? Which is a kind of a paradoxical thing when you think about strength. It's actually, in our vulnerability, that's where our strength is, if we're able to hold that space, right? With ourselves, even with ourselves, and definitely with the other. So, I hope this is making some sense and is applicable and helpful to you in some way. And I will see you next week with a really potent, preemptive reading all around the new upcoming moon cycle, which is going to be really lit and really juicy and deep for our, soul development. Because there will be some challenges, but also with that, there's going to be some fruitfulness. So hope you're moving through the energies with much love, ease, and grace, and hope to see you next time.